Hello, I'm Brandy Agerbeck of LooseTooth.com, and I'm sitting in front of this big, beautiful swarm of questions and topics all about working professionally as a graphic facilitator. And if you're watching this video, you are either already doing this work or you want to do this work when you grow up, and you may call it something slightly different. Graphic facilitator, graphic recorder, visual facilitator, scribe, any of those labels we put on this big, beautiful umbrella of professional visual practice, where we come in and support groups of people doing live work with all sorts of fantastic visual tools. Now, I'm very happy and proud to have been doing this work since 1996, and I've got that swarm of questions and topics behind me because I'm launching my brand new, big, old, comprehensive online course called Graphic Facilitator Confidential. And this is where I pull back the curtain of that 22-year career to share with you answers to these questions. But I want to make it super duper clear. I'm going to clarify a heck of a lot of what you see behind me, and I'll point out some of those in one moment. But my answer can be different than your answer. What's so critical in this course is I'm making you aware of all the different aspects of this work and different choices you have to make. Of course, I'm going to share my own 22 years of professional experience. Certainly, I've learned great things through colleagues. All of that is getting poured into this video-based online course. And I'm so excited because we do really weird work. And it can be fantastic work, but it's also work that hardly anybody knows about, even though I've been doing it 22 years. Folks have been doing it a decade longer than that. And yet, we have to push play and explain what the heck we do. And very often, we're the one person in the area who does what we do. And there's no formal education in this. And it's very hard to find a mentorship opportunity to be mentored by somebody with that experience. So here I am in this seat in front of all those questions and topics because I would love to help teach you how to be that impeccable professional doing this visual support work, doing work as a graphic facilitator, making this your career. Let's take a look at this big, beautiful swarm of questions and topics, all about running your graphic facilitation business, your career as a professional graphic facilitator. And I'm very happy to reassure you that every single one of these paper ovals is addressed in Graphic Facilitator Confidential, the big old comprehensive online course about the business side of the work. If you want to learn more about graphic facilitation itself, doing the work in the room with your clients, go on over to Gold Star Graphic Facilitation. Here, it's all about the business, finding those new opportunities to bring in your visual skills, your visual tools, and make amazing things happen for your clients. But again, every paper oval is in the course, and I've just been having a freaking blast addressing these topics, answering these questions, because I know how darn hard it is to be sitting there going, well, I think I want to do this for a living, and I'm not even sure I know what it is. And I have no idea how to price it, and I have no idea how to work for myself. And then there's the thing where I tell somebody what I do, and they go, huh, right? Because as much as I've been doing this work for 22 years, and there's folks who've been doing this work for over a decade, more than that, this is still extremely new work. Now, I think that extreme newness of it in big, giant, universal terms makes it a really amazing opportunity. But I do recognize how darn hard it is to put yourself in this position as a professional, saying, I want to do this really weird work. I want to run a business doing this really weird work. I want to find those great opportunities. I want to get paid well. I want to get paid on time. All those kind of things. And for so many of us, we're really kind of the the solo person in the middle of nowhere doing the work, right? So we don't have a lot of colleagues to talk to. That has gotten better. I actually started kind of almost like the cusp of the internet, and I think it was one of the very first websites about this work, full stop. I know it's a different story now, 22 years later. There are more people doing the work. We'll certainly talk about competition. This is something that I think is absolutely overblown, and I'll talk about how to keep this idea of competition in perspective. Another thing that's very, very connected to that we're going to talk about in the course is comparing yourself to others. You'll hear me talk about this in the course, where I'm an extreme fan of you put your business blinders on and you look straight ahead. What do I need to do next in this big, gorgeous sea of ovals? What do I need to do next to find that next opportunity to strengthen my business? Because you can do a whole lot of looking sideways and paralyze yourself, or really, really, really slow yourself down. So what else do we got? We got competition, comparing yourself to others. If we go over here, over here on the left is just, how do I start, right? Because there isn't any formal education program. There isn't the magic graphic facilitation fairy to go, ting, you are now a graphic facilitator. So in that very beginning, how the heck do you start? You got stuff like, what do I call myself? What job title resonates with me? How the heck do I describe this work? What do I got? I got, where to go? No one knows what I do. That's, like I said, like so many of us, we start out and people ask us, so what do you do for a living? And you answer them. And then there's that very uncomfortable time of, oh boy, why couldn't I just be something much more simple? My mom was a hairdresser. This is not to pick on hairdressers at all. Thankfully, you say you cut hair, people understand what that means, right? But if you say you're a graphic facilitator, what on earth does that mean? So, dealing with where exactly do you begin? How the heck do you describe what you do? How do you market yourself? This is all the second module is all about finding leads and landing gigs. So how do you market what you do, this very strange, beautiful work? Who do you market to? I've got a PDF that's like, is it 50 plus sources of who to market to. As I spell it out, it's in a PDF, you print it out, you do that work. That's how we find these beautiful opportunities. Certainly this big juicy question of how do I demonstrate the value, right? How the heck do I describe what this is and why the heck you would actually want to hire me, which absolutely goes into what do you charge? Yes, I'm talking explicitly about pricing. When the heck do I work for free? Big question. Are you a graphic facilitator before you get paid? You're sure. Are you a professional graphic facilitator before you get paid? Nope. I would say once you start working professionally, getting paid, being valued, not just in the hearts of your clients, but actual real money to pay bills, that's when you are a professional. This is all about helping you get there and build that super strong business. And that you don't hate the business side of it. I think that's a huge part of this and a huge part of burnout. Burnout's another topic we talk about. I think a big component in the burnout that my colleagues feel is just hating the business side. And what I love and what I'm so excited to share with you is I hear stories from colleagues, and I'm not saying I've never had bad clients. I certainly have. I'm not saying I haven't had problems on the business side, but I've had very, very, very few. And a lot of this is about having your systems and structures in place. Whole lot of that over here. And also advocating for yourself and the value of your role. And there was something else. Systems and structures. Oh, a big, huge part of this is the facilitation part of graphic facilitation. I'm facilitating my client in how to best work together. So I'm anticipating their needs, and I am ready with communications to help clear up potential problems. So in my experience, I haven't had a whole lot of problems because I've nipped them in the bud. I saw them coming and I created the communication pieces and advocated for myself, and I had these systems and structures in place so that there's a whole lot less friction. So some of you who are already in the business, I would love to have you join me to reduce that friction, to get those systems in place, get that infrastructure going. You probably have some of it going, but especially if you're already doing the work and you're feeling like you're reinventing the wheel with every new project, join me. I have so much to say about all of these topics and how to make them seamless, how to really think about what is your approach, what do you need to build to support those choices, that approach. And again, all of this is anticipating the needs of your client to make everything easier for everyone. So, again, join me. I'm pouring 22 plus years of experience, certainly what I've learned from colleagues. All of it is in here, in the course, in these topics. A giant part of why I don't have a whole lot of nonsense. I'm not burnt out about clients. That I don't hate the business side of this is this big scary topic of using a contract. So I'm going to talk explicitly in the course not only about pricing but about contracting. And I do want to tell you up front, because I don't want any confusion. No, I do not give you a contract. Couple reasons. One, if I give you a contract, you don't read that contract, you don't know what's in your own contract. And two, I don't know what the local laws are where you live, but having a contract, having a letter of agreement up front is actually one of your best friends, because both parties, all parties know up front exactly what the scope of work is and what the heck you are there to do. That's the systems, that's the infrastructure. And throughout the course, I'm going to help you make friends with those ideas, those scary ideas around legal language and pricing and contracting. Because that is a whole lot of what makes you a true professional, that makes you a joy to work with your clients. Let's see. So we had the contract. Certainly same idea here is how to invoice, the importance of invoicing. If you know how to invoice well, which I'm absolutely going to describe my exact process and what I do, that's going to make these guys go away, not having to babysit invoices all the time. Along with that, with the contract, you're going to know what the heck to do when, in the rare case that a project cancels. I had to reckon with this recently, but I knew exactly how to anticipate what was going to happen, and it was addressed in my contract, which made everything easier for everyone. A whole lot of this up here is about the pricing side. What do I charge for half days of work? Like, how do I charge full stop? What is that number and what does that include? Let's see, do I have different rates for different types of organizations, i.e. is there a nonprofit rate versus a corporate rate, that kind of idea. In the course, I will absolutely talk about when do you discount your fees? At what point do you work for less? Alongside that idea of when do you work for free, which we already talked about. This is something that is becoming much, much, much more common than when I started way back in 1996, is clients who are comparison shoppers. So how to spot the comparison shoppers, how to anticipate that, and how to hold your ground on your pricing and your value. This is kind of along with that just a little bit tactical thing, what to expense. So what is it okay to expense when you're doing these projects? Some of you watching this, you may come from a different kind of independent business, with a service-based business. So a lot of this carries over, but certainly for a lot of folks, this is all brand new. And you may know bits and pieces, but what I love is sharing all of this and making it extremely clear what your choices are. So I think one of the big values in the course itself, I know how to talk about my value working as a professional graphic facilitator, but the big value of investing in this course, investing in your business, is think about the amount of time you are caught up in, what do I do? What do I do? If you're starting out, you're like, if I get a lead, I don't even know what to do. I don't have a contract. And think about all that confusion and worry, and what is the value of wiping that all away. So I think that's a huge part of it. For those of you who are already doing the work, just the value of the perspective to say, oh, in my experience, I've done this. Brandy's describing this. Now you may still say, I want to do this, but now you've got different points of reference in your decision, right? Instead of that kind of second guessing yourself, like I said, I think a huge thing that happens in the business side of graphic facilitation are my colleagues who are reinventing the wheel every time they get a new project. If that redesigning every time is your happy place? Great. You know what? Don't worry about the systems. Don't worry about the infrastructure. If you love recreating your process every single project, knock yourself out. That's not how I roll. That's too much effort, and not in a lazy way. It's just like, how can I always think about how to be more efficient so that I know exactly how to respond. Now, this doesn't mean everything's cookie cutter. I feel like I am absolutely adapting and responding to my clients, but there is the stuff that happens over and over and over again. And let's just reduce the effort. Let's just reduce the friction in those parts of the business. That comes so much into things like the communications I have with my client when I am prepping for the project. Like, I make it extremely clear, anticipate the needs of my client, what questions they're going to ask, and I already have the answers ready for them. Let's see what other great things here. A ton of this stuff about marketing. Again, the entire second module is all about marketing, and certainly some of this carries over into shaping your practice. I'll talk about the 3 essential things you need to get started, because I think so many people are afraid to even step out of the intention and into the action, or step off that first square, if you think about, your steps in the business, because they don't even know, like, what is it I need to get done? How the heck do I get out there and describe what the heck this is? I'm going to make it super duper clear. I'm going to tell you exactly what those first 3 essential things are, and then how you can build on that from there. Certainly, I think this goes way back to the beginning, that, no magic wand, no formal education, 2 big scary things of the imposter syndrome. Like, I can say I'm this, but when am I this? When am I actually a graphic facilitator? And just this fear around self-promotion. So I have lots of great advice about how to shift your mindset so all that stuff gets a whole lot less scary. I'm going to give you a sneak peek right now. One is, marketing is education. Marketing is not selling yourself and selling your soul. It's educating the client on what the value of the work is and what the value is in hiring you, and how what you bring into that room is going to change what happens in that room. And that is why it is valuable. That is why you are a professional. And that is why you are going to get paid handsomely, right? So first mindset shift is very much about not letting marketing scare you, because truly in this business, especially because it is so new and unknown, marketing equals education, educating your client. The other thing, when a whole lot of us in this work, we're the antithesis of a salesperson. We're introverts. We're like super overthinky. We're the listeners, not the talkers, right? So that feels the sales part of it feels extremely far away. But the big thing is, another mindset shift is that it's not about you, it's about the client. So focus on the client and what they need. Always not standing your ground. That sounds too aggressive or defensive, but advocating for yourself, saying, I understand what this work is, I understand the value, and I'm going to make sure I'm put in the right position, creating the right opportunities and the right position to do my work well, right? If you're one of those folks watching this and you're thinking, I feel like every client's a struggle and I can't get what I need, and I'm working in dark corners and nobody understands it, please sign up. I'm going to tell you so much great information, so many pep talks, so many boosts, so much cheerleading about advocating for your role, because your role is freaking awesome, and we help make great things happen in those projects. All right. So we're gonna erase that imposter syndrome. We're going to learn how self-promotion can actually be super awesome, and not cheesy, and not gross, and not scary. Okay, so there's a couple of mindset shifts you're going to hear more about in the course itself. This is something people come to me a lot, because I was one of those first folks. Social media. How the heck do you keep social media in perspective when it could eat your brain? Terrible. Certainly, what the heck do you need on your website? This is part of the 3 essentials. I'm going to tell you what bare bones you need first. I will tell you what clients have told me about what they don't like in other people's sites and why they hired me. And then I can also talk about how do you build on those bare bones and what to do next. I like these 2. I know a lot of people don't feel any sense of control in doing this work, because it feels so undefined, and you feel like your client has the power. two super important questions or topics. What if they say no? So how do you keep that in perspective, right? And also, when should you say no to a project? So we'll be talking about that bigger sense of choice. They have a choice in who they hire. And certainly so much of this is about differentiating yourself. I know that's up here somewhere. Did I already do this one? Differentiating yourself, setting yourself apart. Here we go. How do you set yourself apart so folks want to choose you as the person they work with? But where was I? So the client has the opportunity to say no and not hire you, but you also have the opportunity to say no if you, for whatever reason. Some folks don't want to work with certain industries, certain clients. Sometimes I just had this happen where I had a project which was so clearly set up for failure that I had to step away from it and say no. So we'll talk definitely about how do you manage those different situations, because certainly experience is going to teach you these lessons, but I would love to help you anticipate those experiences and be more able to respond and adapt and come out of the other side of that experience much, much better. Because I think so much of this we've only learned from experience because, again, there was no outside mentor or guide. Let me be that guide, right? Let's make this all a bit easier. We know there is so much to think about when we're doing this work. Certainly, along with the marketing, very simple idea of how do you get more work. This isn't going to be a sexy answer, guys. I'm sorry to tell you. It's going to be a whole lot about hard work, consistency, and perseverance. Some of this stuff is just about how do you manage projects, like, what is the timing on projects? How do you make sure your calendar is in order? Timeliness and your responsiveness. Along with that, answering clients' questions. Do not let the clients' questions scare you. Truly, those clients, they are asking these questions because they want everyone to have a good experience. I think there's so much. I learned this in the pilot. So much of what people fear about this work is they feel like the client is in charge. The client's always right. They don't, the practitioner doesn't feel like they have any sense of control. And the thing is, you're the expert in that specific work. So know how to anticipate those client questions and answer them beautifully so they have that gorgeous, gorgeous confidence in you and the work you're going to do. Simply, how do you follow up with leads? How do you manage those leads and help them become actual paid projects? This is a lot with the marketing and the social media and all that good stuff. How do you brand yourself? What's the imagery you use? What are the words you use that help people understand you, understand the work for sure, understand the value of the work, and understand you as an individual? These I love talking about so much is how do you build credibility, especially when you're starting out, and how do you build that portfolio? I don't think the portfolio building has to be as scary or difficult as you may think. Certainly, this goes along with the client comments. Negotiating. If they say, well, what about this? That's a conversation. That's not the end of a conversation. That is a conversation. I like this a lot, too, this idea of, do you want to specialize? Now, I don't specialize in industry or who I work with, but I certainly specialize in my unique ability to synthesize information, which I love pouring all this into how I organize the courses, too. This is not a sexy topic, but I think is so important. And when I've talked to colleagues about this course and how I'm developing it, when I say I talk about professional ethics, I think every single colleague I've said this, talked to about this, they're like, oh, thank goodness. Thank goodness you're talking about this explicitly, because this is the dark underbelly, which is no fun for anyone. So I'm going to talk about it. Along with that, not only how do you work professionally and in integrity, not only for your clients, but with your colleagues when it comes to ethics, how do you work and how do you work with your own professional development? Because you don't have those guides. There aren't those signposts or gatekeepers to tell you exactly what you should be doing and when and how to develop over time. This is tricky. This is another one of those dark underbelly things, is that idea of turf. So some of you are working in an area of the world where it seems like nobody's doing this work. Some of you are working in more mature markets where you feel like everybody's doing this work. And both those things are true and not true at the same time. So definitely going to talk about competition, colleagues, this idea of turf. I will tell you right now, I think there is absolute opportunity. And the issue is we're so much of our energy is not educating the next client. It's that looking sideways, freaking out about your client, about your colleagues. We're shifting from the freaking out about your colleagues to putting on those business blinders and looking for those new opportunities and creating those new opportunities because you are educating new clients. All right? So if you don't like any of this, don't sign up for the class. If you're like, that all sounds scary, that sounds like too much work, don't sign up for the class. But if you want to build a professional business and create beautiful opportunities for yourself, for your clients, if you want to build a business that is seamless, that anticipates changes, that doesn't feel like you're reinventing the wheel every single project, please sign up. Certainly, other components after you do a project, these three go together. How do you ask the client to share the work publicly? So how do you build that portfolio and share work publicly? Asking your clients for testimonials. Personally, a weak point of mine, but we'll talk about it in the course. And how to build word of mouth. How to make it easy for your clients, for your colleagues to share you and your work. I'm really looking forward to sharing this in this course, and this is so much about where the heck do you live and how does it impact your business, because this is one of those things that I think is like a silent factor that is really important. And so for those of you who live in a teeny tiny place that's not a big city, I'll talk about your challenges. For those of you who live in a giant city, I'll talk about your challenges. There is opportunity, but the opportunities are absolutely going to be different depending on where you live. That is absolutely a factor. And I want to be upfront, honest, clear, and encouraging to you about where you live and how that is going to impact your business. And if you do live in a teeny tiny place, you're going to spend a whole lot of time on the road. So how do you charge for travel time? And how do you manage and navigate business travel? I like to say, if somebody thinks business travel is glamorous, they are not a business traveler. Full stop. So a couple of little details here. Certainly has to do with colleagues and the layers of business is how to navigate subcontracting and come out of it still liking each other, not just necessarily with colleagues, but with facilitators and agencies, things like that. How to navigate referral fees can be a beautiful thing if people are clear and transparent up front. Unfortunately, that is a place where things get dark and gross and uncomfortable. We'll absolutely be talking about how all of these factors are building those client relationships, creating clients who are so darn excited to hire you again. And way back when, in one of these ovals that are now down here, we talked about burnout. And I'm excited to share with you different ways that we maintain our energy on a project and between projects and overall, so we can continuing to like doing this work and want to do more of it. Now, okay, we got a couple ovals peeking up here, but you can see all these questions will be answered in Graphic Facilitator Confidential. Scroll down for the next video where you will see how all of those paper ovals fit into the bigger picture of the structure of the course.